all we need to do to shift out of the inner conflict is to stop fighting it. Stop trying to push through, because when we push through, we've got part of our energy that's pushing, that's hitting the gas pedal, while the other part is hitting the brakes. And it's not that either pedal is right or wrong. The problem is that we're hitting them both at the same time, and that creates friction and it creates a drain on our energy. Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back and Happy New Year, dear listener. I hope you had a good New Year and whatever holidays you may have celebrated, and welcome back. This is going to be a shorter episode, and I'm going to talk about how to get back into the flow when you hit frustration, fear, or burnout. And the first way to get back into the flow is to not try to do it all by yourself. If you're looking for a community of other sensitive creatives, practitioners, and entrepreneurs to be on this path together with, my twice monthly group, Seen and Safe, is really a truly supportive, welcoming place to get back into the flow together. And I'm reopening enrollment on January 14th. We've got 2 cohorts now. Each of them is limited to 17 members, so it's a really cozy, intimate space. And I would love for you to be one of those members. If you already know that you want to be part of this community and you want to secure your spot, you can go straight to annaholtzman.com/seen-and-safe and sign up for the wait list. Once you're on the wait list, you will get an email from me the minute that enrollment opens up before anyone else does. Or if you're curious and you want to get a little taste of what we do in the group, I'm holding a live free workshop on Tuesday, January 20th, and I would love to see you there. You can register for that on using the link in the show notes. You'll get a replay if you can't make it live, but I would love to see your face there so I can get to know you better and answer your questions in real time. And now I'm going to come back to today's topic, which is how to get back into the flow when you've hit frustration, burnout, or fear. And we're going to look at each one of these things one by one: frustration, burnout, and fear. Before we dive into them, I want to offer you a framework for understanding these things as all just different flavors of resistance. And what resistance is, or the way I describe it, is it's just an inner conflict between 2 energies inside of you. Like an inner conflict between the energy that wants you to move forward on your desires and the energy that wants to stop you from moving forward by using feelings of frustration, fear, or burnout to hold you back or slow you down. So the framework I want to offer is that Frustration, fear, and burnout are not the problem. They're not actually problems. It's the energy drain that comes from inner conflict that is the problem, if we want to call it a problem. Um, and as an example of this, that scenario where you're invited to a party and one part of you wants to go to the party, the other part of you wants to stay home. So if you felt fully committed to going to the party, then doing that would probably feel energizing and uplifting and good. And if you felt fully committed to staying home, then staying home would probably feel good. It would feel like a time to recharge your energy. It would feel all cozy and warm, and you'd feel good about it. But if you're in that tug of war between wanting to stay home and wanting to go at the same time, it's that tug of war that puts a strain on your system. It drains your energy and it leaves you feeling that like icky feeling tense, feeling stuck, feeling gross. I call it like that ugh feeling. So the goal then is not to get rid of feelings like frustration, fear, or burnout. The goal is to partner with yourself and to get all of your energy back on one team so that you can follow your inner guidance without that inner conflict. And that's it. It's not about making any of these emotions or choices or competing energies. It's not about making any of them bad or wrong or getting rid of them. It's just about coaxing all of our energy back onto one team that's working together in harmony, in collaboration. And I'm going to offer you just one simple exercise to try out for each of these versions of stuckness, for frustration, fear, and burnout. And we're going to start with frustration. So I'll give a little example of what frustration can look like so we know what we're working with here. Let's say that you have started a business and it's your passion project. Maybe it's an art business where you're selling your handmade pieces, or maybe it's a coaching business where you're helping people in a particular area of their lives that you feel passionate about helping people with. Or maybe it's something else completely different, but it's the work that you love. And you also want to make a profitable, thriving business out of it so that you can sustain yourself and keep doing the work that you love. And let's say you're in the beginning stages of building this business, or maybe you've hit a plateau and you feel frustration that things aren't going faster, that your business isn't more profitable already, that you don't have more clients, that you aren't selling more work already. And the thing about frustration is that it feels draining. And you know that the frustration itself is slowing you down. So you are probably going to want to get rid of the frustration. And now we're entering into that downward spiral because we're frustrated at the frustration itself. And before you know it, you can find yourself fighting with this ever increasing layer cake of frustrations because each layer of it brings on more feelings of inner conflict as we're trying to get rid of the frustration. And it's like we're in a fight with the frustration. We're frustrated at frustration. Before I get to how we shift this cycle, how we shift out of that downward spiral, I just want to normalize it. If you relate to any part of this toxic frustration spiral, you are not alone. I'm right there with you on a regular basis. And the tool I'm about to share with you is a tool that I personally use. And it's not like I use it once and now I'm done with this for good. It's a practice that I come back to again and again and again because frustration and the cycle, it's part of the process. That's why these tools are helpful. Um, so the practice is really, really simple. It's just first reminding myself that, oh, yeah, the goal is not to get rid of the frustration. It's just to shift my energy and shift my relationship with what's happening inside of me so that I can get back on the same team as myself. And to do that, I'll just ask myself, like, how is this frustration working for me rather than against me? How is this frustration advocating on my behalf? How is it trying to be a friend to me? And I'll actually picture my frustration as a friend, as an actual person that's standing behind me and they're shouting, like frustration is very shouty, but they're not shouting at me. They're shouting for me. They're cheering for me. They're using that intense energy to try to lift me up because they want more for me. And as I feel into the energy of them cheering for me, as I feel it in my body, I start to breathe. I start to soften because I'm feeling now like the partnership of that energy. Instead of feeling at war with that energy, I feel the partnership of that energy. And I'm no longer feeling in conflict with it. I feel supported by it. And a lot of times when I get to that point, I'll start just spontaneously laughing because at that point, I usually can't even remember what I was frustrated about because my focus has shifted to the feeling that I'm being supported and encouraged to move forward by that energy. So I'm going to give you a moment just to feel into that, feel into the support of that energy, feel how that energy is intending to support you. So that's one way to get back into the flow when you hit frustration. And next, I'm going to talk about fear and a process for working with fear. So let's bring in an example again to make this tangible. So let's say that you have an opportunity to speak at a live event, just as an example. Might be something different for you personally, but we'll just use this example. You have an opportunity to speak at a live event, and part of you really, really wants to do it because you want to get your message out there. You want to share the work that you're passionate about. You want to help the people that you love helping. But another part of you doesn't want to do it because that part of you feels really scared to get up and speak in front of people. And maybe the fear feels so overwhelming that you feel frozen and stuck. Maybe you feel like your stomach is churning and it's clenching up. You might even experience like weird symptoms. I've heard of people getting rashes or sore throats right before a speaking engagement. I myself have definitely experienced headaches in the lead up to something like this when it's something I really want to do, but I'm feeling a lot of fear at the same time, pulling me in competing directions. And similar to what we talked about with frustration, when I feel fear, My first initial impulse is not to make friends with the fear. My first impulse is to try to run away from the fear or like to get rid of it somehow. Um, I might try to distract myself by scrolling on my phone. I might start yelling at myself in my head, saying to myself, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you feeling scared? There's nothing to be afraid of here. You're only getting in your own way. Um, so if you relate to any of these impulses, again, you're not alone. There is nothing wrong with you. This is a completely human gut, just impulsive response. And that said, this response is also a pathway to that downward spiral where, you're yelling at yourself and you're trying to run away from the fear. And that actually only makes the fear get louder because what we're doing is we're actually matching the energy of fear by responding to it in a fearful way. It's like I'm afraid of the fear, so I'm going to try to run away from it or get rid of it, but I'm actually acting out of fear, so that just amplifies the fear. So how do we shift this cycle? And again, the first step is just to notice and normalize what's happening. Like, oh, I see what's going on here. I'm afraid of the fear, and that's totally normal and it's human. There's nothing wrong with me. So already I'm talking to myself in a calmer, less fearful voice. And now I can approach the fear in a different way, in a friendlier way, in a caring way, in the way that you would approach a friend or a child or even a puppy if they came to you with fear. And how would you do that? So here's how I would do it. I would welcome them in. And even if I was really busy and trying to prepare for that speaking engagement, I would welcome them in and I would, I'd say, look, I've got a lot going on, but I definitely have a minute for you. Um, come into my room, come sit on the couch with me. I'd look at them with kindness in my eyes and I'd ask them what's going on. I'd get curious. I would sit and listen to them. And I'd hear them out. And then I'd offer some care. Maybe I'd put an arm around them if it looked like they could use that. I would remind them and reassure them that it's totally normal to feel this way. I get it. I felt this way before too. There's nothing wrong with them. And then I'd reassure them. I'd say, I totally believe in you. I know you're going to get through this. I love you. I'm right here with you. You're not alone. I'd say things like that to them. And that's exactly the kind of dialogue that you can have with your own fear. Because when we meet our fear with this acknowledgement, care, reassurance, then the fear starts to soften and feel comforted and reassured, and it starts to loosen up and set us back into the flow. And I use a journaling practice that I call the melt through method. And this practice teaches you how to have this dialogue with your fear in a step-by-step way. So I teach it in a course that I offer to members of my group, Seen and Safe. So if you're thinking of joining us, you will get access to that course. And I also give a little tiny taste of this practice in the free workshop that I'm running on January 20th. So if you join us there, you'll get a taste of it too. So that's one way of working with fear. And so far, we've talked about how to get back into the flow when you hit frustration or fear. And now we're going to talk about burnout. How do you get back into the flow of your creativity, your business, your life when you hit burnout? And you remember earlier we were talking about how all of these things, frustration, fear, and burnout, they're just different versions of inner conflict between the energy that wants to move us forward toward our desires and the energy that wants to hold us back. And it's that tug of war that we're trying to shift out of. So it's not the burnout itself that we want to get rid of. It's actually the inner conflict that we want to shift out of so that we can get all of our energy back on the same team so that it's working together in one direction, not in a tug of war. And the easiest way to do that when it comes to burnout is to go with the flow of what your body's asking for. When your body is sending signals of burnout, like fatigue, lack of interest in doing anything, feeling like you have no inspiration, feeling dull or even depressed or just flat, what your system is really telling you is that it wants to rest. It wants to restore its energy by resting, by receiving nourishment, by taking a break from all of the doing and pushing and problem solving and work. It wants to recharge through things that feel relaxing or fun or pleasurable. And all we need to do to shift out of the inner conflict is to stop fighting it. Stop trying to push through, because when we push through, we've got part of our energy that's pushing, that's hitting the gas pedal, while the other part is hitting the brakes. And it's not that either pedal is right or wrong. The problem is that we're hitting them both at the same time, and that creates friction and it creates a drain on our energy. So the answer is to rest intentionally. It's to take our other foot off of the gas decisively and intentionally and make a choice, an active choice to rest. And if you are someone who struggles to do this, it sounds simple, right? But it can actually feel really challenging in practice. So if you find this challenging, again, you're not the only one. I'm right there with you. I really struggle to do this, actually, which is why I'm talking about it as a reminder, not just to you, but also to myself. Because what I learn over and over and over again is that when I choose rest, when I proactively or intentionally choose rest, what happens is that my energy recharges. And before I know it, my inspiration is back, my energy is back, my creativity is back, my love for my business is back. So the sooner we can get ourselves on board with intentional rest, the sooner we will find ourselves back in the flow. And if you find it helpful to have a little mantra to go with this, you could just try out saying to yourself, rest is good. Rest is good. Or another one you could try out is, my job right now is to rest. So we've just covered 3 simple practices that you can try out to get back into the flow when you hit frustration, fear, or burnout. and you can try them out on your own. But the most powerful way to get back into the flow is to practice these and other shifts together with other people, in a community with other people who are on a similar path, who want to support you and who you will feel pulled to support as well, which creates the opposite of a downward spiral. It creates this self-perpetuating upward spiral of support and flow. Over the past 4 months, that's what we've been doing inside of Seen and Safe, which is my membership group where we meet twice a month to reconnect with ourselves, to explore our growth edges together in a safe, supportive space, and to get back into the flow when we inevitably hit frustration, fear, or burnout, because those things are a natural part of the process when you're creating something that you care about, whether it's a business, a creative practice, or the next chapter of your life. And there's nothing more powerful to help us continually come back into our flow. Nothing more powerful to help us do that than having a group of people to do it together with. The enrollment for Seen and Safe is going to reopen on January 14th for a limited number of new members. So if you want to be part of it, if you want to join us, make sure you're on the wait list at annaholtzman.com/seen-and-safe, and you'll get early access to enrollment. Or if you're curious and you want to learn more, you can come meet with me live at my free workshop on Tuesday, January 20th. The link to register is in the show notes, and I would love to see you there. Sending lots of love and encouragement your way. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing, and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.